Hi, I'm Becky Anderson, and it's Authors Revealed. We have Potsy from Happy Days. It's Anson Williams with his new book. It's called Singing to the Bulldog. You'll find out that he's more than just an actor. He's a director, an entrepreneur, and a singer. Well, Anson, welcome to Anderson's Bookshops and to Naperville.
It's great to be here.
No,
really.
you know what?
It's a wonderful store.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh my
you.
gosh.
We kind of think so too.
Yeah, you've been around like 50 years now?
Oh, yep, over 50, 50 years now. It's our anniversary this year.
Boy, that's a real amazing accomplishment in the world today.
Well, talking about accomplishments, everything you've done in your life, and now here you have this book, Singing to the Bulldog.
Yeah.
So tell us, where did the inspiration, that little seed, start to grow to want to put this book together? Because it really is very different than a lot of other memoirs or you know, that people write about their careers. You know?
Well, it started off really not a book. They asked if I would write a couple of my stories, because they know I've had these Forrest Gump type stories, and so I thought, sure, it wasn't fine. That sounds like fun, and then so I'm sitting down just to get everything together, and it just hit me so clearly: there would be no stories without Willie Turner. And I just, at that moment, I was motivated to write the introduction for the book. I just wrote it and sent it in. And I said, geez, maybe I should tie in the stories with Willie a little bit. Next thing I know, it's a full book. Yeah. They loved it. And, so I was able to write a book that pays Willie Turner's lessons forward. I was 15 years old.
Right.
And kind of a harsh upbringing. So I wasn't a very confident kid. I was kind of a mess. Yeah. And we didn't have money, so anything you wanted extra in life, you had to get a job and earn. Yeah. So I got a job as an assistant janitor at Leonard's department store. And my boss was a man by the name of Willie Turner, 50s, African-American, illiterate, alcoholic, functioning alcoholic, and yet this man had the magic for my life. This man had the words and the selflessness and the insight to help me find me. He called his janitorial room the talk room.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool.
And there's 2 oil drum cans, and when we weren't like mopping floors or putting out stuff, we'd sit there and he would just talk. And by the time I had moved on, I was confident, I knew what I wanted, I knew who I was, I knew what I was good at, all because of this Willie Turner. And I wanted in the book to pay those lessons forward. I wanted everyone to you'll read a cool story, kidnapped by the President of the United States' daughter, meeting Elvis in a parking lot, crazy stories. But it was important that every story had a bigger story, a lesson that went back to that talk room, so everyone had their chance to talk with Willie and pay it forward.
And this memoir was easily readable because of those little lessons you started with in each chapter. Because it's one of those books you can pick up and put down and pick up again. Yeah. But the lessons were really, some of them are simple, but some of them, it's just a great talking point to have a discussion with somebody else and see how that can influence your life too. So I thought it was really, really wonderfully done.
Thank you. There's some interesting lessons in there. I mean, in high school, something didn't go right on the football team and all this, and I thought I deserved something. I deserve something.
Right.
And he just looks at me and goes, boy, sometimes there's a better way to get there. Be patient, there's a better, and that means it's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to go back and redirect. And boy, did I learn that in life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, what was it about Willie Turner? Did you ever find much about him and his family life? Because you sort of start the book with that, and then you sort of end it with him, and then the lessons in between with each chapter. Yeah. But what an incredible person, illiterate, but he had this sage wisdom.
Sage wisdom,
that was the perfect thing for you at the time.
He was Willie Turner was the first person that talked to me, not at me. He saw it was good in me, and went, wow, his words were comforting. His words inspired me. His words connected me to parts of me, because he opened that up for me. Yeah. I wasn't a loser, and and Willie, I did not know much. I mean, I'm this kid, 15 years old. I never went to his house. He didn't have a family. Yeah. In fact, he was on the streets, and a 15-year-old boy saved his life on the streets. So I think it's in the book.
So he's paying it forward.
He's paying it forward. Yeah. And the man, he passed away when I was 19. He never saw the success. But you know, I think he knew. And now my best way to honor him is to pay him forward now.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that is so cool. So the talk room. So basically, you just sat on a couple of barrels and just talked.
Yeah, he'd have his cigarettes and he'd have his flask.
Yeah, right.
And there'd be janitorial supplies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, honestly, it wasn't that much bigger than this area right here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would just get lessons. I would just get more inspired and understand myself more and also learn priorities and also, you know, giving back.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
He was a real selfless guy.
So I'm sure a lot of these lessons you've passed on, not only to your daughters, but I'm sure with all the actors that you've worked with, you know, and a lot of younger actors. I'm sure you, in some way, you have sort of distilled that information and that wisdom and passed it on to them to help them along too.
Yeah. Well, Gary Marshall, who created Happy Days, he very much made our show like a college. He wanted us to learn many areas of the business. So instead of getting all involved in we use the opportunity to educate and learn more. That's why we're still, I think, productive in the business.
Right.
I try to do the same thing when I'm directing on a set. I try to inspire, especially the young people, to broaden out and to understand what they have and to take advantage of it so they have a long-term life, long-term career.
Sure. So tell us where the title comes from of the book, Singing to a Bulldog. So tell us a little bit about that. Some people probably know what that means, but tell us what the title means.
There's a reason I chose it, but it represents the opposite of Jump the Shark, which is out of Happy Days. Jump the Shark is the Jump the Shark is the precise moment when something successful starts to decline. Well, singing to a bulldog is a precise moment when you start to climb. So it's like, I'm singing to a bulldog. I'm getting that job tomorrow.
Right.
Are you singing to a bulldog today? You bet, man. I'm going to get an A on my test. Whatever. I just thought it was a very positive, you know, statement. And it came about, again, because of Willie's inspiration. When I was 15, not long after I started the job, we were unpacking refrigerators for the appliance department. And this is way back. And the big deal was, inside the refrigerator, there'd be a freezer, and it wouldn't be all iced up. It would just freeze your food, right? So I tell Willie, yeah, freeze your food, not your freezer. He goes, that's good, boy. You know, you got the gift. You know, you got the words to sell. He says, it's powerful. You use it right. You use it right. He goes, you're good. That is you know, you find opportunity. You look for opportunity. So I got inspired. And then 2 days later, there's a banner across the appliance section.
That's great.
Freeze your food, not your freezer. I felt so great. Like I mean, I created something. I was good at something. So years later, we're doing Happy Days, and they didn't pay back then the way they do now for shows. So I'm looking for opportunity. How can I get something out of the show? And I thought, well, I sing. And Partridge Family, David Cassidy's singing, and Brady Bunch, they're singing. So I go, let's put a band on the show. So I track Gary down. And he goes, I don't have time, talk to me, I don't have time. I go, listen, I got to talk to you. He goes, okay, walk, fast. So I had a 60-second elevator pitch that changed my life. I tell him, you got girls, you got cars, we need a band on the show and Arnold's. We need we can open up the scenes. It would be so much fun. I think it would really help the show. He goes, a band? Yeah, I used to be a drummer. I like that. Richie, Ralphie, okay, there's a fraternity show coming up. You sing for the party. Yeah, go to Bobby, go pick a song. I'm going, that's it. I just changed my life. I'm going to sing on national television. I'm going to get a record contract, and I'm going to get booked, right? But then he turns back to me, and he says, but you're singing to a bulldog. I go, why? He said, if you're good, I'll get laughs. If you're bad, I get laughs. You're singing to a bulldog. So there I am. I'm singing all shook up to a bulldog. And and then he cut it in a way where it wasn't too much, but just enough. But he liked it, and it started my climb up. And I got a record contract, and I got booked, and he was proud of me. He said, you found something. You found opportunity. You found something good. I'm proud of you. So singing to Bulldog meant much more than just singing. It opened up the world for me. It started the climb up the mountain, and I thought it was apropos for the title of this book.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize you did have quite a long singing career after Happy Days was over, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah. So for Happy Days, you know, it was a decade that you were on the show. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
It is incredible.
There aren't a lot of shows that last 10 years anymore. But it led to that, you know, that that career in directing for you.
It did.
So how did, you talk about Gary Marshall, what a huge mentor.
Yeah, he was an amazing mentor.
And a teacher. So tell us a little bit about what he taught you about directing, or even introducing you to other directors and watching their work.
Well, he didn't really, introduce me to directing. He said, you guys aren't going to be actors all your lives probably, and you should wear many hats. He says, if you want to go to the writer's room, I'll open it to you. I'll open that for you, to be able to be part of that. If you want to direct, I'll set up. You can watch directors on the lot. So basically, open up everything.
Sure,
so
sure.
I started by producing,
okay.
selling shows and producing, and then directing. I finally hired myself twice to get the break on shows I created.
Right.
But I learned by watching John Schlesinger direct Day of the Locusts. I watched Polanski with Backlot Chinatown.
Wow.
I watched every musical number of Grease that was done on the lot. Shot. I mean, it was an amazing education in film by just being there.
Yeah. So the show, and I don't know if I got this figure right, but 60 million viewers each week.
At least.
We
went up to almost 68 million.
That's incredible. I know there were only 3 major networks at the time, but still, that is just phenomenal numbers.
It was a fourth of the country watched every week, and then that not including reruns.
That's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. It was So these kids today, when they think they're big with 2.8 million people watching their cable show, I go, get a life. Seriously, you don't have any idea what it's about. Yeah.
Right, but you talk about Gary Marshall sort of being that sort of toned down, because when you think of young, you guys were all young when you were doing this show.
Oh, yeah.
And what this could have done to you. When I think of back in the 70s, the big thing were heartthrobs and actors like you at the time. You got exposure in teen magazines like Tiger Beat, all those types of things.
Yeah.
And how did you maneuver that? Because it could have. You've seen so many young stars who just can't maneuver all of the attention they get. So how did you guys do this?
Well, one, we weren't quite as young. I was 23 when it started, so we had a little bit of maturity, and we're very lucky in having Ron Howard be the leader. With his great character, great work ethic. I mean, amazing. And then Gary Marshall. I mean, they went, what did you do on the set? Oh, what did you do when what did you do when you weren't working? We shot hoops. And taught. We shot hoops. I mean, it was like just as tactile and basic as it can be. And a lot of that had to do with Gary and Ron and the total environment. So and all of us were in it. We weren't of it.
Right.
And like Willie taught me, move forward, boy, move forward. Keep moving forward. And that's, and I do, I believe in that.
Yeah.
I don't, it's like, gee, that's great. What's next? What's next?
Right.
Yeah,
and I think you have such great friendships that you still have today from that show. And it's, I think, probably more than any other show probably at that time or since, so many of the actors that were part of that show are still huge successes and still creating, and it's like you said, still moving forward.
Yeah, they are.
Everything.
Yeah, look at Ron. I mean, he's huge.
Right.
Yeah, and Henry's doing fantastic.
Right.
Don Mose is doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, Marion Ross is doing great.
Yeah. So you've been a writer before, and producing and creating shows and everything, and probably scripts and everything. How did that experience sort of inform the writing of this book? Because this is a little bit different.
It's way different.
Yeah. So how was that experience, and sitting down and writing this out?
It was catharsis.
Catharsis.
Cathartic. What the heck does the name?
Right.
It's like I'm great with words.
Yeah,
whatever.
No,
actually, it was. I loved it because I wasn't limited.
Sure.
I could describe everything. In script, it's everything's it's a short description and dialogue and character. Here, I mean, you can open it up more. It was just a broader palette, and I think what I learned though from script is I was able to pace.
Sure.
And that's what my publisher said. Man, you just did it right. You want to keep turning the page.
Yeah,
and that was kind of an innate sense of pacing.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, the book wrote itself. I wrote, seriously, the first pass, which is probably 70% toward the final pass in 4 weeks.
Wow, that's fast.
The entire book was done in 8 weeks.
Very fast. Yeah. Don't tell that to other writers; they won't want to hear.
Well,
that.
I probably couldn't. This one just happened to fall that way.
Yeah.
Plus, it's not a novel, so they were separate stories. But I had to echo them back to the talk room. But it's not as difficult as as writing a novel. But it was picking what stories.
Yeah.
And all.
That probably was hard to choose.
I don't know. It just happened. It's almost like there's a team from above that wrote this book.
Yeah.
You know, and just looking at reviews now, I mean, I feel touched because it is connecting the way I hoped it would to the reader.
Right. So, you know, all the things you've done in your life, you know, entrepreneurship, you've been a, you know, producer, director, actor, singer.
Yeah.
Do all these things that you've done inform one another? I mean, they have to have an influence on the craft of these different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, anything creative, anything that's in the moment, I mean, it attaches to everything.
Yeah.
You know, but you also got to know when to let it go.
True.
And to move on.
And that's probably one of the hardest things to learn, probably.
Yeah, well, I did it with the music. I mean, I made it. I went here. I worked to get in the, not to be a teeny bopper, to get in the main clubs, and I did. And it was fine, but I could feel it. You know, I could feel that was it. Not time to move forward. Time to get behind the camera. This part of your life's done.
Right.
And you have to be able to be connected to that, so you can really go where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. You know, talking about the media and how it's changed and the prying eye of what happens with celebrity, you know, it's just insane today, and was probably very different in the 70s and the 80s, you know. So how do you help? Because you've directed a lot of these young actors. I know even like, you know, the Life of an American Teenager. You think of Shailene Woodley and the success she's had and all that type of thing. How do you help kids? Because here you were in that situation.
Oh yeah. Well, what's nice is on those sets, actually, Shailene Woodley, I think, taught me more than I taught her.
That's
I
cool.
think it's in the book. No, she reminded me of young Ron Howard. Giving, selfless, talented. I mean, really priorities, straightforward. I mean, really cool person. And then the young guys on the show were really nice too. But there was a respect there for me because they knew where I'd been, so they'd listen.
Sure.
And it's very easy to open up their head for, like, you know, thinking long term.
Sure.
And it feels really good because I know I helped him.
Right.
I know it's stuck.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So directing, I know you said you produced some of your own stuff when you started directing, and like you say, most actors really respect a director, especially because they've been there.
Right.
You've been behind the camera instead of, you know, in front of the camera. But how did people take you when you first started directing? And you've directed so many different television shows and episodes of different shows.
Yeah.
So what was that like at the beginning, and having other directors looking at what you were doing?
Well, it's interesting. When I first started, it was my stuff. You know what I mean? It was, and so it was a very different experience because I was able to be totally involved, 100%. I designed it, shot it, directed it. You know, then you get into being hired as an episodic director.
Right.
That's difficult because you're in someone else's court all the time, and it's a whole. You know, you're the odd person out. You know, you're the guest.
Right.
So you have to sit there. You have to get the actors' respect. You have to get the DP's respect. You've got to get it in under budget. 2 weeks later, after the cut, it's got to be like, you know, Fellini movie. I mean, you have all these challenges. You know, and but it got easier as you went along.
Right.
Just, if you're confident, you know what you're doing, and you present that, things will go pretty smooth 98% of the time.
Yeah. You know, on Happy Days, you know, as Potsy, everybody knew you as the BFF. You were everybody's BFF.
Right.
You know, and I think everybody, they still remember you as that. But I think probably everybody thinks that you're that kind of guy today, and I think that's probably pretty true.
Yeah, I actually, I was copying one of my best friends, Howie Schertzman, for the character.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think he's a kind-hearted character.
Yeah, right.
You know, yeah, and I'm that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the character.
Right. But you have that.
Maybe the likable part, you know, that makes people connect. It's a good person. Try to be a good person.
Yeah. You know, all the lessons that Willie taught you and you have put into this book, what do you think is the guiding one, that one at the top that really has been the one for you?
I would say, I mean, it's a little broad, but it's the one that made my career. It's like, you don't look at the mountain, boy. You climbs that mountain. That's who wins. You climbs that mountain. You don't look at that mountain, boy. You climbs that mountain. That's who wins. And that's the one. That's the one, because, you know, I went, I'm tired of looking at it. I'm going forward. I'm climbing it. And I did action. The other thing, the underlying theme in the book is never ever judge anybody, ever. That ordinary or less than ordinary person that might be extraordinary for your life. You don't know where it's coming from, but if you're connected to, if all of a sudden you feel something, you go with it and you listen to that person. And it's not going to be the billionaire or the movie star. It's going to be some person outside the box you would never think twice, but yet can connect and move you forward in your life.
Right. Yeah, that's really good advice. So your multifaceted life, all the things that you've done and everything. But I think one thing that people really don't know about is your entrepreneurship and a couple of companies that you created. So tell us about that, about the products and the marketing that you do for these companies.
Well, that all, you know, years and years before in high school, I found out I had marketing abilities. And creating product and marketing is not that much different than entertainment. But I had gone into business earlier in the restaurant business and almost lost everything because, it was, man, everything worked and all the marketing ideas worked, but we were absentee owners, and you don't go into business without knowing crossing every T and dotting every I. You don't go in unless you know your business. And we practically lost everything because of that. So years later, if I ever get in another business, I'm going to know what I'm doing the business. And I was directing Melrose Place, and my future business partner was a top makeup artist, and she was also a skin specialist, and she would create these skin treatments for the beauty trailer.
Right.
And in bulk, you know, and she started with Baywatch. She started doing years before the skin treatments for Baywatch, so the cast doesn't get screwed up with harsh treatments and all that.
Right.
So the Heather Locklear, Lisa Rinna, they're all raving about this crushed pearl in the I'm going, what? So during a lighting setup, I went in the trailer, and there's Joanna, and I introduced myself. I said, well, she explained that, you know, it's skin treatments, and, you know, all these shows want it. She teaches them how to do it. I said, what's the name? There's no name. It's just, well, so I'm saying, so these products are on the most famous faces in the world every day? They're the working products? She goes, yes. I go, good. Let's create a company, Star Maker Products. You're as important as any movie star. Use the exact same products of the most famous faces in the world. You're as important as any star. And we created Star Maker Products. With a great, and we were on QVC for a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And now we've expanded since then. I just made a deal with my uncle. I call him Uncle, Dr. Heimlich Maneuver, and who's probably, I think he's in the Guinness Book of Records of saving more lives as a single individual than anyone in history. And we're going to do Heimlich Health, live long. And so we're going to do a product line. Really, the first product will save more lives than the maneuver. And we'll get, so we're doing that. We sold a 100-calorie chef cookbook to QVC. So we're really kind of,
branching
you know,
out with that.
we're diverse.
Yeah. So, you know, I wanted to go back to, you know, the life of an American teenager and seeing, you know, the difference between TVs in the 60s, 70s, and even early 80s. And you think about now, you know, there's no topic that's not touched upon that may be difficult or, you know, a little bit more controversial. What was it like directing some of the episodes of that show? Because it really had a lot to say and a lot to teach.
Yeah, well, it dealt with, I mean, it dealt with it in an entertaining way, but an honest way of teen pregnancy, responsibility, you know, the realities, you know, of what happens. And the show, they've proven really brought down pregnancy. It created conversation in households and awareness. And you know, it dealt, and they connected with the youth big time. So it was a very purposeful show with some very controversial subject matter. But then you go back, go look at All in the Family.
That's
or
true.
Maude.
That did have a lot of,
No show, I mean, that would be so hard to get on the air today.
Oh, some of it would.
I mean, brilliant.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. So what are you working on now? Directorial-wise or,
Well, directorial, I mean, after Secret Life, I kind of stepped back because segment directing is like exhausting. I have a few things in development, but then I'm very busy with the book. And then there's another book behind it, but it's a novel based on called Outside of Time. It's on the order of A Fault in Our Stars. I mean, but with family. I mean, I think it's going to be good.
Great.
And then And then and then the product company, you know, it's like huge amounts of work. So it's busy.
You're a busy guy. Okay, so what do you hope readers are going to take away from Singing to a Bulldog?
Willie, I hope they're going to take away.
Okay.
They're going to take away a little more strength for their own lives. Be inspired enough to start climbing their mountain. Where they go, well, it connects with them to move forward. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's it. It's like I want them to have the same voice that talked to me and turn my life around. I think that same voice is going to help the reader.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Anson, I end these interviews with a little quiz. So no, you know all the answers.
Yeah,
so
right.
No, yeah, well.
Yeah, right.
Oh, just comes what comes to mind. Okay, so it's a little combination of books and everything you've done in your career.
Okay.
Okay. So you know these. Do you remember a book anytime, even through high school, that you still remember that you absolutely loved?
Romeo and Juliet.
Okay. Okay. What was your favorite episode of Happy Days?
My favorite episode was when Ralphie busted up Fonzie's motorcycle. I think it was the funniest episode ever.
Okay. Okay, what about a favorite episode that you directed of any show you ever directed?
The Lone Star Kid with James Earl Jones.
Okay.
The underlying theme was the way government should work. And I at the end we got rave reviews. I mean, it was terrific. However, I always wondered, will anyone get the bigger picture? Really the bigger picture?
Right, sure.
A few years later, get a letter from PBS. Thought you'd like to know, we're so proud. The Constitutional Committee of Poland, you know, when they were turning it into democracy, requested Lone Star Kid to screen. They felt it was like the best example of a democracy.
Oh, how interesting.
My grandmother escaped Poland before World War I.
Yeah.
So that was
That's something to be proud about.
Yeah, that was
very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
That was an amazing, you know,
yeah.
emotional, you know, moment for me.
Oh, I bet. Do you remember a favorite song that you loved to sing when you performed in front of audiences?
Believe it or not, it was Al Jolson songs.
Interesting.
Swanee, Mammy. I had a whole medley.
Okay.
And I mean, I just loved it. I just connected with that. I mean, I could perform the heck out of it.
Okay. Do you have a book, any book you've ever read, recently, even before, that you've been an evangelist for? You could not tell enough people they had to read it.
The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
I've heard other people say that one too.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, if you could have a dinner, could be anyone, 3 people you'd invite to have a great conversation, alive or dead, who would those 3 people be?
Oh, easy.
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin.
Whoa, okay.
Because I study them. I study our founding fathers. Because since I have 5 daughters and no time for hobbies anymore, but I only read their letters.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well.
I only read their letters. And a lot of these books are wrong. They're wrong. And you can, it's right in their letters if they research it. Yeah. But I almost can talk to them. I've read so much and know them so well. That would be an amazing.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah.
Okay. How about a book that you read to your daughters? One that you loved to curl up, something you shared, you know, even when they were really little.
What's that one with Moon?
Goodnight Moon?
Goodnight Moon.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's classic. Good choice.
Moon,
Good choice. Yeah. Okay, who is your favorite TV director of all time?
Jerry Paris, director of Happy Days. He's the most talented comedy director of all time.
Okay. And what are you reading now? Anything you've read recently, or is it mostly talking about your own book? I know you're on tour.
I just finished Inferno.
Oh,
I love that.
Okay,
I mean, I love books that just take me away.
Yeah,
you know, and I love Dan Brown.
That's great.
You know, I just love it. It's entertaining, and I actually learned some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very, very talented. I mean, really amazingly clever. Yeah.
Great choice. Okay, A+. That was easy.
Oh, okay.
You did well. You did well.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Anson, thank you so much for talking with me, and congratulations on your book. And when you get that fiction piece, come back and see us.
I will. Thanks so much.
What a fantastic interview with everyone's BFF from Happy Days. It's Potsy, otherwise known as Anson Williams, about his new book. It's called Singing to the Bulldog. Thanks for joining me on Authors Revealed.